You have spent your entire life chasing it. The nod of agreement. The reassuring words. The validation that tells you, yes, you are enough. But enough for who? Enough for what? You have shaped yourself into what they wanted, adjusting, filtering, hiding, performing. You have said the right things, worn the right masks, played the right roles, hoping that if you just do it well enough, they will finally accept you. But how many years have passed, and do you feel accepted? Or do you feel exhausted? Because that is the price of living for approval. It is a hunger that never ends. No matter what you do, how much you give, how perfectly you perform, it is never enough. Someone will always disapprove. Someone will always want more. And the second you stop, the second you step outside their expectations, the approval disappears. And what are you left with? Who are you when you strip away everything you were doing just to be liked? That is the terrifying part, isn't it? The fear that if you stop shaping yourself to fit their mold, if you start living for yourself instead of them, you will be alone. And that fear keeps you trapped. It keeps you saying yes when you want to say no. It keeps you agreeing with things you do not believe in. It keeps you apologizing for being yourself. And the worst part? The approval you are chasing is an illusion. It is conditional. It is fragile. It is not real acceptance. It is approval given on the condition that you remain exactly as they want you to be.
Click subscribe to this channel to get more topics you love.
And the second you step outside of that, you see the truth. It was never you they approved of. It was the version of you that was convenient for them. So what happens when you stop? What happens when you stop trying to impress them? When you stop shaping yourself to fit inside their expectations? When you stop saying what they want to hear and start speaking your truth? At first, it is terrifying. The silence is deafening. The approval you were addicted to disappears, and suddenly you are left standing alone, wondering if you made the biggest mistake of your life. You will question yourself. You will feel the urge to go back, to shrink yourself again, to apologize, to explain, to try one more time to be what they want. But something inside you will resist. Because for the first time, you feel something you have not felt in years: freedom. The weight starts to lift. The exhaustion of constantly performing begins to fade. And in that silence, in that space where their expectations once lived, you start to hear something new: your own voice. The voice you buried under years of approval seeking. The voice that tells you what you really want, what you really believe, what you really care about. And as you listen to it, you begin to realize something: living for their approval was never living at all. It was existing. It was surviving. It was playing a role in someone else's script. But real life, your life, begins the moment you stop. The moment you decide that being liked is not worth the cost of being yourself. The moment you accept that not everyone will approve of you, and that is okay. Because the people who truly belong in your life do not need you to perform for them. They do not need you to filter yourself, to shrink yourself, to be anyone other than who you truly are. And when you stop living for approval, when you stop fearing disapproval, something incredible happens. You become untouchable. Their opinions lose their power over you. Their judgments stop controlling you. Their disappointment no longer dictates your choices. And for the first time, you make choices based on what you want, not what they expect. You start doing things because they matter to you, not because they will impress someone else. You stop explaining yourself, justifying yourself, proving yourself. You stop seeking permission to live the way you want. And in that moment, you become free. But freedom comes with a price. Not everyone will like the real you. Some people will leave. Some people will resent you for changing, for refusing to play the role they assigned to you. Because your freedom reminds them of their own chains. Your courage forces them to confront their own fears. And not everyone is ready for that. But that is not your burden to carry. You were not put on this earth to live a life that is acceptable to others. You were not given this one life just to spend it chasing approval that disappears the second you stop performing. You were meant for more. And the moment you stop living for their approval, you start living for something far greater yourself. The cost of approval, how seeking validation steals your time, energy, and potential. Every second you spend worrying about what they think is a second you will never get back. Every moment you hesitate, every time you filter your words, every time you hold back your true thoughts, you are giving away your life piece by piece. And for what? For a fleeting moment of approval, for a nod of acceptance, for temporary validation that disappears the second you step outside their expectations. But you have been trained to believe that being liked is the most important thing. From childhood, you were rewarded for being agreeable, for following the rules, for fitting in. You learned that approval meant safety, that rejection meant pain. So you adapted. You became what they wanted. You learned which parts of yourself were acceptable and which parts needed to be hidden, and you hid them. You buried them so deep that eventually you forgot they were even there. But they never disappeared. They are still inside you, waiting for the moment you stop caring about their approval, waiting for the moment you finally choose yourself. But how much time have you already lost? How many years have you spent living for them instead of for yourself? Think about it. How many decisions have you made based on what they would think? How many opportunities have you turned down because you were afraid of being judged? How many dreams have you abandoned because they were not realistic or acceptable in their eyes? And where has that left you? Are you happy? Are you fulfilled? Or are you exhausted from carrying a life that was never really yours? Because that is the cost of approval. It is not just time. It is not just energy. It is your entire existence being shaped by people who do not have to live with the consequences. They tell you what you should do, how you should live, what choices you should make. But at the end of the day, when the doors are closed and you are alone with your thoughts, it is not their life that is affected. It is yours. They do not feel the regret. They do not feel the emptiness. They do not wake up every morning with the sinking feeling that they are living someone else's life. That is only yours to bear. And if you continue down this path, where does it end? Do you think there will ever be a moment where they finally say, "You are enough"? Do you think there will ever be a time when you have done enough, given enough, conformed enough to finally feel whole? Or will you keep chasing and chasing, only to realize too late that you have spent your entire life running towards something that was never real? Because that is the truth they do not tell you. Approval is an illusion. It is a moving target. The second you reach it, it shifts. The rules change. The expectations grow. And you are left running in circles, never quite arriving, never quite feeling whole, never quite being free. And the only way to escape is to stop. Stop seeking. Stop chasing. Stop believing that your worth is something that needs to be earned from others. Because the second you stop playing their game, everything changes. At first, it feels like falling. The fear grips you. The silence is deafening. The absence of their approval feels like a void, like something is missing. But then, something incredible happens. You start to hear your own voice again. The parts of you that you buried, the dreams you abandoned, the thoughts you silenced, they start coming back to life. And for the first time, you begin to see what was always there. You were never lacking. You were never incomplete. You never needed their approval to be whole. You just needed to stop giving away your power, stop letting them dictate your value, stop living by rules that were never meant to serve you. And when you do, everything opens up. You start making choices that align with who you truly are. You start pursuing the things that actually matter to you. You stop wasting energy on people who never truly valued you in the first place. And the best part, you start attracting the right people, the ones who do not need you to perform, the ones who accept you without conditions, the ones who love you for who you are, but not for what you can do for them. And suddenly, life feels different, lighter, fuller, real. And you realize that the cost of approval was never worth it. That the years you spent seeking it were years lost, time wasted. But you do not have to waste another second. You can stop right now. You can choose yourself right now. You do not need their permission. You do not need their acceptance. You only need the courage to let go. The freedom of self-acceptance, how living for yourself changes everything forever. There comes a moment when you realize you have spent most of your life as a reflection of other people's expectations. You have shaped your words, your actions, your dreams to fit into a mold you never even chose. You have been careful, calculated, measured, constantly adjusting to avoid judgment, rejection, disapproval. And what has it given you? A life that does not feel like yours. Choices that were never truly made for you. A version of yourself that looks whole on the outside but feels empty on the inside. And then something shifts. Maybe it is a breaking point, a sudden moment of clarity, or maybe it is a slow realization creeping in after years of exhaustion. But one day you wake up and the weight of it all is unbearable. The weight of being liked. The weight of meeting expectations. The weight of living for everyone else but yourself. And you decide enough. Enough filtering. Enough shrinking. Enough apologizing for existing in a way that does not fit their script. But enough giving away your time, energy, and identity for approval that has always been conditional. Enough waiting for permission to be who you are. Because that is the greatest trick society plays on you. It makes you believe you need permission. Permission to speak your truth. Permission to live the way you want. Permission to choose yourself over the expectations of others. But the truth is, no one is going to grant you that permission. No one is going to suddenly stand up and say, "You are free now. Go live for yourself." Because the world benefits from your obedience. It benefits from your compliance. It benefits from you staying small, staying quiet, staying inside the lines they drew for you. And as long as you are waiting for approval to step outside those lines, you will be waiting forever. So what happens when you stop waiting? What happens when you stop explaining, Stop justifying, stop asking for acceptance, and start living like you were never meant to be controlled in the first place. At first, it feels unnatural. Years of conditioning do not disappear overnight. But the old fears creep in. What will they think? What if they leave? What if I am wrong? But the more you push forward, the more you realize something incredible. The world does not end when you disappoint people. The sky does not fall when you refuse to conform. The people who truly belong in your life do not vanish when you stop performing for them. And the ones who do, they were never meant to stay, because they were never in your life for you. They were in your life for what you could give them, for how well you fit into their expectations, for how convenient you made their world. And when you stop giving, when you stop bending, when you start saying, "This is who I am, take it or leave it," some people will leave it. Let them. Let them walk away. Let them remove themselves from your life. Let them go, not with bitterness, not with anger, but with the quiet understanding that their absence makes room for something better. Because when you stop living for others, you start attracting what was meant for you all along. The right people, the right opportunities, the right experiences, not the ones you chased out of fear, not the ones you forced out of insecurity, but the ones that align effortlessly with who you truly are. And suddenly, life feels lighter. You wake up without the invisible pressure of meeting expectations that never served you. You make decisions based on what excites you, not what pleases them. You stop second-guessing every word, every action, every choice, because you are no longer measuring yourself against a standard you never agreed to. And the best part, you start to trust yourself. Because for years you doubted your own instincts, silenced your own voice, dismissed your own desires as wrong or unrealistic. But when you finally start living for yourself, you realize that your instincts were never wrong. You were just taught to ignore them. And when you start listening to them again, you begin to understand that everything you were looking for was always inside you. Confidence does not come from approval. It comes from self-respect. Happiness does not come from validation. It comes from living in alignment with your truth. Freedom does not come from pleasing others. It comes from refusing to betray yourself. And once you taste that freedom, once you truly experience what it means to live without asking for permission, you will never go back. Because the life you create for yourself, the one built on your own terms, your own choices, your own truth, is worth more than a lifetime of approval from people who were never meant to define you in the first place. This is not just about breaking free from others. It is about breaking free from the version of yourself that you created to survive. It is about standing in your own power and knowing you are enough, not because they said so, but because you decided you are. And the moment you choose that, everything changes.